You've probably thought it would take you months or even years to get to the point to where you're repping out 15 clean pull-ups, no kimp, just solid form. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. Within the next couple of months, I can almost guarantee that you can hit those numbers. And there's obviously some nuance there, but I can almost assure you that those numbers are possible over the course of multiple sets. I had a couple people that I've coached, but there's two primarily that I want to focus on because most of the guys that like I work with go with weighted because I'm more of like a weighted calisthenics slash skills type of guy. I've never really had to focus on like the body weight aspect as much at like the lower end of the range that I'm giving you. Mason, around 40 kilos, 45 kilos, something along those lines. Never done a pull-up in his life. Super skinny guy. He did his first pull-up in just a couple of weeks. He did his first couple of reps of pull-ups in a couple of weeks, in fact. I had a guy that I'm coaching now named Andre. He went from an 8-rep max for pull-ups, 8 maximum reps. Like, think about that. He can only do 8 in a row. The form was like, it wasn't quite like bad, but it wasn't 10 out of 10 either. It was like 8, 9 out of 10. After, I think, 3 weeks of working with me, we got him from 8 reps total in one set to doing 3 sets of 12 reps. If you've ever trained like endurance or anything for any sport, you know how much more difficult that is. He added a solid, 50% over the course of 3 separate sets, and it looked like he had reps in the tank. Right now, he's starting with weighted, only a month into his training, and before his max was 8 reps. This stuff works, so I'm going to be giving you the exact roadmap of what you need to do from 0 all the way up to 15. I've done this a couple of times with a couple of other people. I can name other examples. I'm just not going to for the sake of your time. All you need to do is from 0 to, let's just go over some basics first. The most important thing for learning a new movement, because if you can't do a pull-up, it is a new movement for you. It's like trying to learn how to squat for the first time or bench for the first time. It's very new to you. The best way, there's something called neural efficiency or like neural adaptations. It's essentially how good your brain is at doing specific movements. This is why when you see somebody who's like fairly athletic in basketball, for example, they're not usually a good boxer just like out of the box, because they haven't practiced the skill. Same thing, vice versa. When you train a new skill, you need to practice it a ton. So there's 2 mindsets that I want to give you before we even start this. It's frequency, so how many times you train throughout the week. And this is the type of video where you need like a pen and paper, you write stuff down, like you have a Notion tab or a Word document like separate, like you make the screen go in half. So like I'm on one side, the template's on one side, and like you pay attention to both and you pause the video and you go back and like that type of thing. So if you're interested in like actually making progress and you're spending 15-20 minutes watching a video, if you actually care about getting value from it, I would recommend that you do that because that's very essential. I need to make this a point because most people won't do it. If you're already doing it, then awesome job to you. I will shake your hand if I ever meet you. Frequency, so the amount of times you train per week, and amount of sets or volume. They kind of like go interchangeably with each other, but we're just going to be thinking about number of sets as the volume. And we can go with like total reps as well, but just to keep it simple at this level, we're not going to be focused on that. Practicing the movement more is key. A lot of people like going over like, 2-set method, bro, 2-set method. That's the most BS marketing nonsense I've seen in my life. 2-set method. Think about this. How good is it that there is one singular best method with all of the Soviet legends backing it, even though if you look on social media, none of the good athletes back the 2-set method. All of the Soviet legends backing it. That allows you to learn skills as fast as possible. That allows you to be stronger than any other human at any other sport. Do you know that I love ranting about Ian because it's just such nonsense. Do you know that his marketing team had 136 mentions of how the 2-set method converted to skills and how it made like every skill like completely possible like within 2 days, like instantaneously you learn full plunge. Now I preach that in like some of my programs where it's like first link in the description, I have paid program, second link free program. You can look at those if you're interested, like whatever. But in my stuff, I say that, yeah, there's a point. There's diminishing returns. He's like, oh, no, the strength equals skills instantly. He lowered it down to 6. 130 mentions of skills got removed from his sales page once he started getting flack from the best athletes, the people who actually can do skills. Once he started getting flack from them, and then he said he never mentioned how the 2-set method can lead to skills. Even though in all of his videos, that's what he says. I want to break this belief because it's such a common thing. And maybe the Ian Barsigo wave has passed and maybe you don't even know who that is, whatever. But I want to instill this into you that frequency and volume is the most important thing. Another guy I'm working with, one of my best friends, I go to school with him literally every day. I'm not going to name his name because it's like a little bit more intimate and I'm still like kind of working with him. But one of my best friends, he was training pull-ups. He can't do a pull-up yet, by the way. He can do like halfway up and that's kind of it. His biggest problem was he was training pull-ups like once every 2 weeks, once a week, because he just wasn't consistent. So let this be a reminder of literally just be consistent. If you're consistent at this level from like 0 to 5, you're going to learn them no problem. As long as you're not like extremely overweight, you can literally unlock like your first pull-up by accident at this point. Obviously take it more seriously than that, but after a couple of weeks, couple of months, you can literally unlock a pull-up by accident. Once we up his frequency, we started using bands, we started doing negative, all that type of stuff. He went from like a really heavy resistance band, doing sets of 1, sets of 2, whatever, going down to a really light resistance band, doing sets of like 3. Again, that doesn't seem like crazy progress, but that is actually insane progress if you realize the difference in force that is used. So a couple of things, just to summarize like some of the key points. High frequency is important. High volume is important. You need to be doing both. Lots of sets, lots of frequency. I'm going to be going over sets more individually in a second. Don't fall for low volume, low frequency nonsense because that's only really used for peaking. And yes, there's a place for that, but right now is not the place for that. How you're going to go from around 0 to 5-ish reps. Well, we'll say 0 to 1 and then like 0 to 3. They're very similar, but I'm going to give like a little bit of nuance. 0 to 1 is probably like the breaking point for most people. Like that's kind of the hardest step. It's normally like 0 to 1 and then like 8 to 15 is like the hardest step for people. Like the middle part is really easy and then higher is hard and then lower is hard. What I want you to do is 3 times a week, and I have this listed all out in like my free program, second link in the description. It's called the Creative Mode Protocol. It's like a cool little name. So it's like going into creative mode because of how fast you fly over the bar. It's kind of cringe, but whatever. I list over all of this in my program. So if you want it like actually written down for you, you can go into that. It's like a community aspect, all that kind of thing. But essentially all that you do is you will pick 3 times a week that you're going to train. So like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example. You can do 4, but most people can't handle that. Most people can't handle 3 straight up. So what I can recommend to you is like the middle session, like you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The middle session, just go lighter where you do like half the amount of work. I want you to do 4 to 6 sets of 4 to 8 reps with the heaviest band or the lightest band that you can do that with. So like the least resistance. So how this would work is, let's say Monday you do 4 sets of 4. Wednesday, let's say you're recovered in this example, so you don't have to take like the rest day in between. Wednesday, you would try and progress because you probably have heard online that progressive overload, and there's a bunch of different ways to progressive overload. It's not just like adding weight or adding reps. It's actually a lot more complicated than that, especially as you get into the more advanced stuff. So how you would progress here is, I actually want you to add more sets. And that might sound a little bit funny, like adding sets. Why? Because the most important thing for learning a movement is volume, is the amount of frequency and the amount of volume. Volume in this context is sets and the amount of reps that you do. It's actually easier and it's actually more beneficial to do more reps at a lower intensity at this stage than it is to do less reps at a higher intensity. Over a certain period of time, once you're able to do like 4 or 5 sets with a very light resistance band, like barely any weight, like one of those 5 kilo, 10 kilo bands, you'll probably be able to do your first pull-up. You just need to work on attempts. So how this would work is just full roadmap from 0 to 1. Heavy resistance band, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you try and progress. So let's say you do 4 to 6 sets. Your rep range is 4 to 8. What you do is Monday, 4 sets of 4. Wednesday, 5 sets of 4. Friday, 6 sets of 4. You did 6 sets. Now you're going to up the amount of reps that you do. So let's just say you do a faster example because most people will progress faster than this. I'm just giving it to you slowly so you kind of like understand the process and maybe you progress a little bit slower. Who knows? Over time, you add sets and then reps, and then you lower the amount of assistance that you're getting. So let's say you get to 6 sets to 8 reps. You don't have to add like as many sets if you're making progress quickly, but in some cases that might be better if like there's a sticking point in between. Let's say you're doing like 4 sets of 8, for example, but you can't do 4 sets of 4 with the next band down. Doing more sets will be the thing that's going to get you there. Going from the point to doing 4 sets of 4 with a heavy band and then 4 sets of 8, 6 sets of 8, whatever with a lighter band, being able to do that. And then once you get to a decent level in that, you're using like the 5 kilo band, 10 kilo band, even 20 kilo band in some cases. If you're like above 80, 90, 100 kilos, something like that, and like still you're fairly lean, like you're not fat essentially. Like you can be like, you can not have abs kind of, or you can like flex them and they show up a little bit. That body fat is completely fine, but anything kind of more than that is a little bit too fat. So you might want to focus on losing weight at that point. But anything past that or anything below that is completely fine. After that point, you just focus on attempts. So when you do your attempts, you literally grab the bar, pull as high as you can. Your body still doesn't technically know how to pull. It's a lot better than what it was when you started because you've been doing banded and also you built some muscle. You got a lot stronger because you've just been doing like traditional strength training with the band and all that. So what's going to happen in most cases is you're going to be really explosive out the bottom. So you're going to be here, you're going to explode, and then you're going to get stuck right around where your chin is. Don't worry about good technique. You can kimp, you can pull, you can do weird movements, all that kind of stuff. Just be safe with it. So don't be a retard and like flare and have a seizure on the way up. That's not what we want. Kimping is completely fine. Once you get to this point, you're going to do the same process, except with body weight, and you're going to do less reps. So kind of how this would work is after a certain amount of time, after a couple of weeks, after a couple of sessions, probably won't even be a couple of weeks, literally. When I was working with Mason, the guy who I talked about before, like who did his first pull-up, he literally did his first pull-up first time, like within 4 or 5 sets. So it wasn't a case if he wasn't strong enough, he just didn't know how to pull properly. What you're going to do next is from 1 literally up to 15 pull-ups. So I said like 1 to 3 before, but it's kind of the same process, so I'm just going to give it to you like that. 1 to 15. All you're doing is you're starting off with 4 sets of 1, for example. And here you're going to do less sets because you don't really need like as many sets because you know like the technical part of pulling, you just kind of need to get the intensity in more so. This is kind of how I lay it out in the free program. What you're going to do is, let's say you start with 4 sets. Obviously, ramp up the sets like we said before. You can start with like 1 set of 1, then 2 sets of 1, then 3 sets of 1, then 4 sets of 1, and then you can do like some banded stuff to supplement. Like let's say you only do 2 sets of 1, for example. You wouldn't be a retard and just end the workout there. You can add the band that you're using before and do like a couple like max out sets or whatever, like sets really close to failure, that type of thing. Just do like just get pulling volume in essentially. I wouldn't go above 4 sets if you're doing 3 times a week. You can if you want to. I've just found that most people get to the point to where they're so weak, like because they're tired, not because like you're weak physically or whatever. Everyone's a wonderful little snowflake, but to the point to where you're so tired that you're not really able to produce force. Your work capacity might be better or worse than that, but experiment, stay around the 4 set range. You can go down to 3, you can go up to 5. I wouldn't really go past that though. Once you get to 4 sets of 1, focus on getting to 4 sets of 2. So now you're just going to keep the volume at 4 or 3 or at 5 or whatever. This is just an example. You're going to go from 4 sets of 1. Then you're going to do next session. And think about it. You have 3 chances to progress per week. That's why frequency is so OP. Because if you are recovered, if you aren't sore, then you're more than capable of doing more. There's like this crazy misconception that for some reason, muscles take like 4 or 5 days to recover. There's one study that says the upper range is like 3 days. Like what? It's absolutely insane. People who say like, oh yeah, 5 to 7 days. And I wonder who I'm talking about. Mr. Balls Eagle. Anyways. Next session, you're going to do, instead of 4x1, you're going to do 1 set of 2 and then 3 sets of 1, for example. You can probably do like 4x2, then 4x3. But in the beginning, up until you're doing like sets of 6, for example, then you might have to go a little bit slower, or it's like per set. When I worked with Andre, we got to the point, well, when I worked with, I'm currently working with him, we got to the point to where for when he was doing lower sets, because I think he started with like 4 sets of 5, 4 sets of 6, something along those lines. He might have been able to do 9 pull-ups. I don't remember. I have it written down somewhere. Let's say did like 4 sets of 6, for example. At that level is kind of the point to where, like, yeah, your endurance is good enough to where you're able to add like 4 reps per session, because it's not really like a total hit. It's not like a giant percentage increase. If you were to think about it like purely autistically, if you're doing 4 sets of 1, for example, and you go to 4 sets of 2, that's doubling the amount of reps that you do. If you go from 4 sets of 6, for example, to 4 sets of 7, that's only really adding 4 reps. It's like what is that? That's a 15% increase, 17.5% increase, something along those lines. I'm horrible at math. Ask any of my math teachers. I I have this like Jamaican lady who is like, I'm not gonna do the accent. Oh God, I'm gonna get canceled. Anyways, that's besides the point. Full guide. But right, it's a much smaller increase as you get into higher reps. Same thing for literally any other skill: handstand, push-ups, muscle-ups, all that kind of stuff. It's very similar how you train these things, just with tiny differences. This is all you really need. Just to give you like a basic summary, just so like you can finalize like what you're writing down on a piece of paper or whatever. It's use bands to get to the level of a very light resistance band, something along the lines of 4 to 6 sets for around 8 reps, 4 to 8 reps, again, depending on the band. If it's like a super light band, doing a 4x4, like 4 sets of 4, would actually help you unlock it. But if you only have access to like a heavier band, so like it gives you a ton of resistance, and also you're quite tall, so it gives you more resistance because bands stretch, it's more tension the more that it stretches. So obviously if you're tall, it's going to make more of a difference. Depending on the band, 4 sets of 4, 4 sets of 8, something along those lines, 6 sets of 8, even if like it's really hard to progress. Train 3 times a week, high volume, high frequency, all of that kind of stuff. Then once you get to the point of doing body weight pull-ups, progressively add more reps each workout. So you're going to look at your total reps. So something along the lines of like kind of summarizing that is total reps is how many reps you do per session. So doing 4 sets of 2 would be 8 total reps. Next session, it doesn't matter how you get it, you want 9 total reps, because that just means objectively you're doing the movement more, and objectively you got stronger. In this case, we want objective metrics. With the band, it's a little bit hard because it's like, I don't know if I'm doing better really, because like the band's lighter, but like it could be giving more resistance, and it's kind of on a different spot on my feet. I wore like slightly longer shoes today. Like I have thicker soles than like the barefoot shoes that I wear or whatever, like that type of thing. You probably don't wear barefoot shoes, but some hippies do. So hippies are into calisthenics at this level. So if you're a hippie, welcome. That's your full guide. If you're interested in calisthenic courses, then first link in the description is kind of like my paid program. I have like bonus lectures and bonus content, and also courses and things on like muscle growth and handstand push-ups and all that kind of stuff. Second link, free community, free course, all that type of stuff. It's literally teaching you exactly what's in this video, just in a little bit different type of detail. Like it was more thought out when I wrote it, for example. And it teaches you how to combine dips and weightlifting, and teaches you how to add skills to your training at a point. There's basically like a leveling system. And the ultimate goal is getting to your first handstand push-ups and first muscle-ups within the next couple of months. That's been everything. My name's been Brandon. Keep doing the best at doing your best. Trust God. Signing off.